And it felt like I had just put glasses on for the first time at 30 years old. Okay. I looked at my purse. I was like, what kind of human organizes their purse like this? This makes no sense whatsoever. Why is there a receipt from 8 months ago? Like, why is there two toys that my kids don't even play with anymore? Um, and I felt like this is amazing. So I went through this instant kind of like relief. I was like, oh my gosh, this, I can't believe it. Like, it's like those videos when you see someone hearing for the first time, okay? And they're like crying. Like, that's kind of how I felt. I should have, in hindsight, researched what happens when adults get diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, because that would have possibly prepared me for what came next. And it came fast. And it is what I refer to as my downward spiral. So I spent the next months, okay, months, extremely, I don't want to say depressed. I wasn't depressed. I was happy. Like, I felt happy and powerful. And I also felt angry and resentful and disappointed. And you know what it is? It was grief. I felt a lot of grief, and the grief was not for, it was almost for me, like who I could have been, or all, just thinking of all the terrible, the horrible hardships that I've been through that could have been much easier, or and just almost like 20-year-old Danielle, like, oh, she could have had a way easier existence. That sucks. But at the same time, I went to therapy, and I had to do a lot of therapy. I was having some PTSD, and I really had to work through a lot of, and I haven't told anyone this, like my family or anybody. I just decided this is it, right? So I had to work through a lot of feelings of being pissed off at all my parents and grandparents and teachers and counselors. Because I've done therapy my whole life. I did therapy with my ex-husband. I did therapy as a kid, court appointed therapy. Pissed off that nobody caught it. That, you know, I felt like no one cared, kind of. So while I was doing this therapy, my therapist really helped me to reframe a lot of things. I started to think, like, okay, what if I had gotten diagnosed as a kid? Or what if my life had been easy? I wouldn't have all of the skills that I have now. I wouldn't have the grit and the resilience that I have. I wouldn't be able to just go out and do something and have success with it, because I have such a determination that I'm literally going to die or get that thing done. Okay. When I care about it. If you ask me to, like, do some boring task, it's not going to ever get done unless I delegate it out or hire someone to do it. So I started to, so again, this is about 3 years ago, maybe 2 years and a few months. I started to reframe things, and I really took a look at my business and decided to stop doing a lot of the things I was doing that were spreading me really thin, and decided to focus on the things that were bringing more income and the things that were going to create like a lasting business and results, and which was clients and the agency. So I focused on that while really rethinking like everything I've ever done. And started to connect the dots, and started thinking about all the blogs I've written about education and the Khan Academy and my experience. By the way, I went to college too. I forgot that part. I went to college to CSN while my husband was in Iraq, pregnant, 6 months, about 5 months to like 8 months pregnant. Did a couple classes at a time. And the reason why I left college is because my professor pissed me off. I was super pregnant, and he wouldn't teach actual psychology. All he did was talk shit about the war. And I tried to like do good in school then as a grown adult, just like high school. And I just got really upset. And one time I just stood up and I was like, okay, I'm leaving. So if you ever want to talk about psychology, you let me know. I'm going to be out there in the hallway. So I sat my pregnant ass down on the floor, waiting for him to come back out and be like, okay, we're going to sorry, I got off on a tangent and totally, made you freak out. I don't know your husband's in Iraq, because of course I didn't say anything. But sure, come back in the class and I'll actually teach psychology. He didn't do that. So the next week, the same thing happened. I sat out there taking notes. I ended up passing the class with 100% because I take hella notes, because I've learned that about myself, that I have to write things down or I will forget it. But then I left college because I was like, I'm not going back to this place. This is crazy. What is this doing for me? Nothing. I can learn the same stuff in 4 hours at my house if I stay up and just let my hyper focus sink in. Anyway, so I decided to, about 3 years ago, I said, okay, I have developed a lot of skill sets. I have so many more abilities than a lot of people do, even the most organized people, because I've had to. Even the most organized minds can't do the things that I do. I have learned how to hack so many things together to streamline so many processes that I don't have to do anything. And I used to call it like my lazy girl hack, to where if something comes in and it has a certain word, it pings over there and it goes to that email, and then it sends a notification here, and then it puts it in this spreadsheet, and then it does this and does the formula and like all these things. And all I have to do is go look at it, because I'll put so much work into something to not have to do like the details, stupid stuff later, right? So then I thought, okay, I've got all these skills. I know how to market things. I know how businesses run. I have success in pretty much everything I do because I started learning about the strengths of ADHD. Now let's go into this. All right. So ADHD, the myths around it are things like everybody has ADHD, it's not real, or it's like you get distracted, or it's like you're just impulsive and you don't have a filter, and you're unfocused and you're hyper. No, that is absolutely not true. Some of the strengths of ADHD, oh, by the way, ADHD is not what it stands for, is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That is not what it is. We do not have a deficit of attention. We have a surplus of attention. We just don't know how to regulate our attention. So it should be called executive functioning disorder, because at its core, what ADHD is a disconnect between your prefrontal cortex and the rest of your brain. And the prefrontal cortex is responsible for all of the executive functions: working memory, focus, attentiveness, regulation, emotional regulation. So when you have ADHD, you have an inability to regulate all of your executive functions. That means your tasks, your priorities, your emotions, anything. It does not make sense to put things into an order. I'm just telling you, okay? But because you're not using your executive functions, hey, be nice. You're using your subconscious, you're using the back of the brain more. And because if I walk into a room or a building or somewhere I've never been, and I know that like I'm supposed to go straight and then go right and go left and then find the sign and then turn there, I walk in, don't remember any of that stuff, okay? But I'm walking around in circles, I'm looking at all the things, I'm taking it all in, and my subconscious is taking in all the information in no particular order, not for any reason except just to absorb it into my mind, okay? And that's why some of the benefits of having ADHD are that we are problem solvers, we're creative, we have imagination, we are resourceful, we hyper focus, which I didn't realize that other people could not do. I used to be like, listen, just go take like 4 hours. Here's 3 books. Here's an article. Sit down and you will learn how to build bots or whatever. No, other people can't do that. We can, because we don't have any type of filter being like, hey, you're hungry. Hey, maybe you should do this, or this isn't your most important task right now. It's like all of the things, all your effort, energy goes into it, and you don't you don't get up until you finished it. Okay. So I cannot tell you how many times I have come out of a wormhole or something. Luckily, oh, and by the way, at this time when I came out, when I realized how much I was struggling before without knowing it, and how great the strengths of ADHD can be if managed, I also had a team in place. So I was like, okay, like here's how this is going to work. I'm going to do these things. I'm not even going to attempt these things. You're going to do these things. We're all going to work together. It's going to be perfect. I'm just going to disappear for probably 4 days at a time, and when I come back out, we'll have a conversation about it, and we'll have a new service to offer our customers. And because I will go in there, learn everything, test everything, make all the mistakes, enjoy it, figure out a better way to do it than anyone else has done it before, and then write it down all into a system, automate that into a tech form, and come out with a complete protocol of how we're going to monetize it. Okay. And then I come out of the wormhole, and now that I have gotten a handle on it, I know how to control those moments. Like, I know how to regulate what I'm going to give my hyper focus to. So instead of my hyper focus being off and going down some rabbit hole, I have already prepared, because I know what time my brain's going to do that. I've set up my environment to be conductive to it. I've created visual cues to tell me what to do. I've set timers. And I am ready to let my ADHD take over. Okay. And then a lot of great shit comes from that. So, and also, by the way, now I'm going to get into in a second some of the crazy stats that shocked me. And when I started to learn this, as I started studying ADHD and myself, and I started realizing how broken our education system is, and started to see the answers as to what we need to fix. I was like, screw it. I'm running for school board. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about education. I just feel like I can win based on all my skill sets and my experiences. And I also feel like I can get shit done when I get in there. Okay. Some of the people that have ADHD that we know are Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, Richard Branson, John F. Kennedy, Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps, Emma Watson, Walt Disney, Whoopi Goldberg, Aaron Brockovich, Ellen DeGeneres, Henry Ford, Will Smith, Tony Robbins. Those are just some. Those are kind of the people that I feel like have some sort of innovation in them. There's also a ton of performers: Justin Timberlake, Adam Levine, so many people. Okay. So now, are you guys ready for this part? Here's what I started to learn. Okay. Are you ready for this? So listen,